लोग कहते हैं आपको ये करना चाहिए तो आप करेंगे, लेकिन आप कब तक कर पाएंगे? दैट्स द क्वेश्चन. If you say I'm doing it because this is how the algorithm knows me, then there's a purpose behind why you're doing it. That अगर एक बंदा भी ऐसे हो, एक बंदी भी ऐसे हो, who listens to what I say and it makes a change in their life, that's good enough. Listen to your inner voice, the inner dialogue, especially when you're doing what you're doing currently. If your inner voice is telling you that you're not meant to be here, listen to it. We are amazing self-hypnotists when it comes to limiting ourselves. I can't do this. I'm unlucky. I am not deserving. These are all things we keep saying to ourselves. For a lot of us, when we want to do something new, typically it's parents, friends that will tell us what? Don't do it. We don't do this in our family.
Nobody has done it.
Nobody else has done this before. I know that we all have an inner voice. Listen to your inner voice, one part. The second part is...
So hello friends, and today's episode again going to be very amazing, and today we are going to meet a self-hypnosis coach and NLP coach, Rahul George. Rahul help people to change their mindset and behavior so that they can change their world. Your brain has a lot of power, and how changing your vocabulary, changing your mindset and changing your thought pattern, you can change your world. So enjoy the show and do comment and let me know what are your learnings, and I'll see you in the next episode.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Great. So welcome to Pooja's talk show.
Good to be here.
So are you comfortable in Hindi?
I will kind of maybe do a little bit of it, but people can definitely ask questions if they have, and I will respond. If they don't understand, maybe I'll say it differently, if that helps.
Okay, great. So welcome to Pooja's talk show. So how you're feeling?
Excellent.
To be here.
Looking forward to hearing your questions, and of course, usually these talk shows have, how do I put this? Your viewers have questions, so I'm looking forward to that as well, because that's where we'll get the real message, right? We are here to serve.
Yeah.
And we are here to share our knowledge, share our life experiences so that we can help them. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Right. So first of all, thank you so much for joining and accepting my invite in very short notice. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for that. So let's start with your journey. Okay, you are in coaching industry. So my first question is, like, you wanted to become a coach, or destiny led you to come in this industry?
Great question. So let me put it this way. When I started my career almost about 20 years ago, I wanted to be in the advertising industry, and that's what I did. And I did that for I think about 3.5, 4 years. And then I knew that there was this question that needed to be answered, right? There was like a vacuum which needed to be filled. And so I went on my personal journey to get to know myself more, to get to know myself better. And of course, along that way, I discovered that, that personal growth, personal development, self-help is an area which I'm very, very fascinated by. I really want to know more about, and I've always been very curious to know more about people, like why do people do what they do? And somewhere I believe that, we're all on this journey to be better, right? So along the way, obviously, I've, trained, I've had lots of training, lots of coaching along the way in my own journey. And of course, to answer your question, eventually it got to a point where I realized that, helping people with my knowledge, helping people with my life experience is definitely something that I can do. And that is sort of, how this journey began for me. So I didn't start off, let's say, wanting to be a trainer or a coach or a healer for that matter. But along the way, these things have happened.
Okay, great. So tell me, past 10 years you are in this training industry and coaching industry. So how's your journey? Like,
Technically
definitely,
18 years. Technically 18 years, not
okay,
10.
okay, it's a long time.
Indeed.
So how's your journey? Like definitely you would have faced a lot of challenges. 18 years is
Right.
a long
Yep.
time, and I think on that time, the online thing was not
Didn't
existed, or
exist
maybe
around.
it
So,
was, yeah. So how you did? We want to know, like, when this online things was not there, then how you pursued your journey. Like it is little difficult, right, to reach
so the,
out to the people.
the words that are coming to my mind are grit and determination, which means, just give me a second. Are you able to hear the dog or is it sort of in the distance?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear. It's okay,
He's
no
calmed down.
problem.
No, he's calmed down. So like I said, the words were grit and determination because, like I said, I've always been very drawn to personal development. And I've seen firsthand and, through my training as well, how important this work is, right? To help other people. So to go back to your question, was it difficult? See, from a market perspective, like for instance, and one of the things that I trained in is NLP or neuro linguistic programming. So I was introduced to it in 2007, right, which is like eons ago. So to go back to your question, I would say for the maybe the first 7 or 10 years or maybe more, it was difficult because not too many people were aware of it. Not too many people knew why they needed it, as compared to, let's say, post-COVID, right? A lot of people post-COVID are, wanting to become coaches, wanting to take their experience in whatever they learn and build a brand, right? So, like I said, persistence and resilience, these are the two things. That's why I'm still here. And I'll also tell you this, in this line of work, if you genuinely want to make a difference, think long term, like literally for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Then it takes away a lot of the pressure.
Right.
Because if you look at, let's say, maybe your own mentor, or you look at people in the industry and you think, अच्छा 3 साल में सब कुछ हो गया, right? करोड़पति बन गए or whatever. That's there is a percentage of people that will definitely hit that number, but for most people it's a journey. So if you're doing what you're doing, if you're intending to become a coach, if you're intending to become a personal brand, if you think like, can I do this for the rest of my life and build that path along the way, then it makes sense. Otherwise, to go back to your question, the other way of answering it is there will be lots of misfiring. There will be lots of misses. There will be lots of failure. There'll be lots of feeling like, why am I doing this? What is the point of this? Why do I create content? Nobody watches my content. Like, it's very easy to get caught in that spiral. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers, your listeners, your followers, I'm sure they've had that experience as well. And this is something that even now, in my 40s, as I think about it, over the next 30 years of my life, like, do I see myself doing this kind of work? And for me, it's a resounding yes, which means I know I'm in the right space.
Okay, great. So, like, being a coach is also kind of, entrepreneurship, you can say that. So we
Exactly
have
right.
to do a lot of things. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in journey of entrepreneurship, we have to do a lot of things which we
Yes.
don't feel like doing.
Yes.
Okay, so most of the
Yes.
time, even though I heard in my journey, like people say, uh, love what you do. Okay, they say love what you do, but if I see my work, Okay, so I think in my work, 80% of thing what I'm doing, I don't really like that work, but still I have to do it. Okay,
Mm.
because it is necessary. So
Can I,
as a
can I,
coach, you know, you have, yes, yes,
so when you use the words, I have to do it, right?
yeah.
Usually that is where the challenge comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when you say, I want to do this because it's an important ingredient in me building a successful business. I'll give you an example.
Right.
I started learning digital marketing before COVID. Okay, so I had, like I said, for many, many years, I had been initially in the training industry. So I had, literally like training is an industry. So I had done that for more than 10 years. And when I realized that that was sort of like a stepping stone. So it was not that I wanted to end my, like I didn't want to just only do that, but I knew I wanted to do more. Therefore, there came a time when I realized that it was more in the space of coaching, more in the space of healing, more in the space of especially using hypnosis, because that is, let's say that's my superpower, one of them. In 2019, when I made it a point to study digital marketing, to study sales psychology, to study, like literally study from the best in the business in India and abroad, like initially I couldn't connect with it, right? And like you said, a lot of what I was told to do felt like I have to do it. ये तो करना ही है.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I'll
Okay.
tell you, if I look at 2019, 2020, 21, till about last year, what did not change for me was it felt like it was an imposition. Like in school, we were given impositions, like it was like a punishment. तो उससे क्या होता
Right.
है, दिल से नहीं आता है आवाज, वो फॉर्मूला वाला बात हो जाता है कि लोग कहते हैं आपको ये करना चाहिए तो आप करेंगे, लेकिन आप कब तक कर पाएंगे, दैट्स द क्वेश्चन,
Mm-hmm.
राइट? So even hearing
Right.
you say it as like that's the part of me that is the coach, that and as the hypnotist, hypnotherapist, the somebody who teaches self-hypnosis, what I'm hearing is when you say that and if you don't feel good doing it, all that means is what if you changed the way you said it? And I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, when I again started focusing on the marketing and the content creation, what was different was I realized that it's important to get my voice out. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to feed the algorithm every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So since around October or November of last year, I've been starting to become more and more consistent to the point where now every day I create content. Every day I do a live.
Okay.
Every day I do a reel. Not because I have to. It's because if I do that, in the next 6 months, by the time 1 year passes, I would have built a library which will help my future customers. So I'm not doing it for likes right now. Likes आएंगे, but जैसे जैसे आप करते जाओगे, eventually वो होगा. Does that make sense?
Yes, right. तुरंत तो
So
कुछ भी नहीं होता है. It will take time.
yes, and that's where language makes a big difference. So जब आप बोलते हो कि मुझे तो अरे यार मैं नहीं करना चाहती हूँ लेकिन मेरे को करना पड़ता है, the energy is very, it's painful, right?
Right.
What if you could change the language?
Okay.
It just changes the game, no?
Yeah. Right.
Right? And it's very subtle.
Yeah. So I have to say, we have to say, I want to do it because it's a need of my business.
No, 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 no. See, the thing is, when you say I want to do it, if you don't want to do it, then internally you will feel like मैं तो अपने से झूठ बोल रही हूँ.
Mm-hmm.
If you say I'm doing it because I know that this is how the algorithm knows me, then there's a
Okay.
purpose behind why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. So we have to
And
add purpose.
yes, that's one. And if you say I'm doing this because even if one person, and you said it at the beginning of your talk today when you did the introduction, right? That अगर
Yeah.
एक बंदा भी ऐसे हो, एक बंदी भी ऐसे हो, who listens to what I say and it makes a change in their life, that's good enough for today.
Yeah, right.
Worse is saying, अरे यार, मेरे को तो करना ही पड़ेगा. So then you're already like, the thing is it becomes less sustainable. तब burnout हो जाता है. आप एक दिन करोगे, 2 दिन करोगे, 30 दिन के बाद बोलोगे यार छोड़ो ना यार, नहीं करना ये, मैं और कुछ करती.
Hmm.
Right? So it's like
Right.
someone said, if you're doing, let's say if you're promoting your brand on Instagram, then understand how does Instagram work? What is the best way to approach it as per Instagram? Like if you, for instance, if you go to Instagram and you study Instagram, there is a certain way of posting.
Hmm.
There is a recommended certain number of times in the day or in the week, right? Post so many times.
Right.
So even if you do it like that, saying that, yeah, I'm doing this because this is the language of Instagram.
Hmm.
Versus, no, I'm doing this because my coach told me to do it. And I don't want to do it. Because then there is no you should do it, there is no you must do it, there is no I have to do it. Because उसमें जो हो जाता है, it's like over a period of time, it's not sustainable energy. Because अंदर से वो बैठता नहीं है ना.
Right.
Right? So I know
Yeah.
that is not the direction or the intention necessarily of our life today, but hearing you, and this is why I do what I do, because I've been trained to listen to how people speak, and I don't know how this will make a difference to you specifically, but I also know that you're listening.
Right.
So somewhere there is that resonance in this part of our conversation, and I know that change when it happens sometimes can be just that one tiny little thing, कुछ कहीं से सुना, and it's like 3 months later your life has changed. 1 year later, most definitely, you're on a different, maybe that 1 degree shift, but you're on a different path altogether. Meaning better, more connected to, and like I told you, and this is how I look at it, like I said, I've been very fortunate to be in this space of personal development, working with people one-to-one. So if I look back, I've worked with more than between 10 and 15,000 people over the course of time, right?
Wow.
In like, with working with companies, like 100 people in a group, 50 people in a group, 30 people in a group, 3 people in a group, like CEO and their team, so these are the things I've done over the years. But the thing is, if what you're intending to do and you're intending to do it over a period of time, which is अगले 5 साल के लिए, 10 साल के लिए, 20 साल के लिए, and you're looking to do something, do more in this general line of work, right? So even that one shift that you make, 2 साल बाद, you'll probably end up in a more aligned space. Make sense?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
So that's why I had to pause and point out what you were saying, because at the end of the day, you are also whether you, and I know you recognize this, but whether you know it or not, you are also a thought leader in your community. You are also somebody who is showing people direction, right?
Right.
So the more you feel aligned with what you're thinking and doing, and you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you're connected with that sense of purpose, tab aur maza aayega. My thing is, why not have fun even? Why not enjoy the process even now? Right?
Right.
That way. That's why, that's why we've gone off on a different, but it maybe, so I believe in the universe, and I believe this was meant to happen. So.
Right. Thank you for sharing, Rahul. It is insightful, and it's really, really helpful. Not only me, I think whoever is listening to us. So most of the time it happens, and I think it is a very good shift, if we take care of our language, like in what sense we are speaking, so it can change a lot of things. So thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
So you have a great journey, like 18 years. So tell us about 3 important lessons which you learned from this 18 years of journey of your career.
So I'll start with that's a good question, right? So how do I draw from 18 years and think of like 3 specific lessons or things to keep in mind, or frames that I guess in a way best kind of showcase the last 18 years, right? If I was to sort of reinterpret what you just asked. One is definitely, as I look back also, one is, and as I think about the last, 18, almost 2 decades now, definitely, I would definitely say, listen to your inner voice. That's the first part. जो अंदर वाली जो आत्मा होती है, the inner dialogue, right? Especially when you're doing what you're doing currently, because दो बातें होंगी. When you're doing what you're doing currently, if your inner voice is telling you that you're not meant to be here, listen to it. I'm not saying drop everything, sab chhod ke, find your purpose or whatever. No. For some people that works, right? But it's not necessarily that it has to be for everybody. But there is that inner voice that is constantly telling you whether that you're in the right place or that you're meant to be somewhere else. जो inner resonance जो होता है, that, and it gets stronger when you listen to it more. Sometimes it gets stronger when you don't listen to it also. Right? Say, for example, let's say amongst your audience, if there are people, two types of people, I'm guessing, right? One is people who are entrepreneurs, one is people who are in a job. If they're in a job and they don't like where they are and they choose to go somewhere else, right? And when they pick that new job and the inner voice is saying, no, don't be here, listen to it. Because good, okay, you decided, you heard the inner voice, you left the old job, but you've gone, जैसे बोलते हैं ना English में, from the frying pan to the fire. तो जो अंदर वाला जो dissonance जो था, जो disconnection जो हो रहा था, वो सुन के, but you've gone off in a different direction. So keep listening, because it will eventually guide you to where you're meant to be. That's the first part. To people who are, say, wanting, okay, I want to become a coach, say somebody is like that, right? In your audience. Always be aware of when you are working with a new client, what is happening inside. Right? Are you feeling in resonance or are you feeling in dissonance? Because a lot of times, especially when people are starting off, you will hire or you will take on clients even though you know that you do not want to work with this client.
Okay.
Right?
So we need to choose clients where we aligned with that.
Yes. And which is why it's important that if you are in, especially if somebody is intending to do business, and I've been guilty of that many, many times. But if somebody, and this is where I'm like, these are my lessons that as I look back over these so many years, that when you're able to pick more clients who you feel connected with and who you truly believe you can help with your skills, then you will grow faster. But if you feel like, nahi, chalo paise ke liye kar lete hain, in the sense of let me just take the money and, hope that everything will work out, it may, but it will be a harder journey. So to summarize, the first lesson is be mindful of that inner voice that you have, that inner guide. That's the first lesson. The second lesson is be like literally back yourself. By that I mean, if you believe that no, I'm meant to be doing this work, then just follow that. Because people will try and convince you otherwise. Sometimes your conscious mind will try and convince you otherwise. No, don't do this. Let's go back to the familiar. Let's go back to the comfortable.
Basics. Yeah.
Basics पे चले जाते. And we'll do that for a little while, but then again, फिर से वो आवाज अंदर से बोलेगा, अरे बाबा, don't do this. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Do what you're meant to be doing. है कि नहीं? I'm sure you had those experiences as well.
Yeah, I experienced so many times.
Right? So like I said, the second part is to trust your gut. Right? And the third, what I will definitely say is be open to possibilities. Right? Like your original, I think your first question was, did I always think I would be doing this work? When I started, I had no idea I would be on this track. Right? I did my degree in psychology. Then I did my MBA I specialized in marketing. In those days, you could only specialize in, typically one subject. So I chose only marketing. And after that, I worked in advertising for a while. And then I slowly started to make that shift. Correct? So the point is that, I didn't know I was going to end up here. But every step of the way, something happened which kind of, moved me more onto this line. Like if you had asked me even 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, would I be focusing only on hypnosis when I work with my clients? There's no way I could have known. But today when I work with my clients and I use a combination of hypnosis, self-hypnosis and hypnotherapy, right? I have a community as well where I teach them the fundamentals of hypnosis so that they can get good at self-hypnosis, which means they can practice it by themselves, for themselves. All of that happened because of these many chapters along the way.
Wow, amazing insight. I think it's taken me back to my journey. It happened with me, the thing which I was not aligned, but still I was doing, because I had no idea, I have done study of this subject. If I'll not do, then what I'm going to do. But still I was doing, but it took me 7 to 8 years to understand, this will work, this won't work. It will not for me. So it's completely agree with you.
Even listening to you right now, what I'm reminded of is it's like you're doing this. You may or may not even know why you're currently doing this, but you're doing this at one level because you yourself are on this path. I don't think we've spoken too much before, but something made you reach out to me because of that inner guide.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And that's why, like you said, listening to you, I was actually taken back to my journey of these last 8 years. That's what you just said. right? So even in your choice of guests, even in, the people that you reach out to, there is going to be that, there is going to be that inner guide, that inner voice telling you, you know what, reach out to this person,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Right. So yes, valuable insight, and I think I need to listen more and more. And it's like very, interesting also, So yes, Rahul, you coach a lot of people, you have trained a lot of people. So do you have a mentor for yourself? Do
Many,
you follow somebody?
many,
Okay.
many. So over the years, I have worked with people who are in the line of what I've been wanting to learn. So at a point where, like I said, when I started to make the shift, initially I chose counseling as like the first, if I say, I chose to initially work in a company in advertising. So when I made the shift to move from advertising more into entrepreneurship and more into, learning skill in the space of psychology broadly, psychology, personal development. I had two mentors there. I had two mentors at that point in the context of counseling, and over a period of time from that, it moved to NLP or neuro linguistic programming. So for me, that journey began in 2007, and um, it continued on. In fact, 2012, I went to the US and I trained with Dr. Richard Bandler, who is the co-creator, co-founder of NLP, right? So that was for a couple of years. Then in fact, in 2019, when I knew I wanted to, focus on, when I knew I wanted to focus on, sales and marketing, I looked at people that were around who were doing, who were making an impact. Right. So ever since over the years, I have had different mentors who, specialize or focus in specific areas within, sales and marketing, digital marketing for that matter. Right. And then even this would have been in 2020, 21, I would say 21, where I started to go deeper into hypnosis. Even there, I found a mentor. So one way to answer your question is that every step of the way, when I've wanted to learn, I've always looked to somebody that's, a couple of steps or many steps ahead of me, because they have kind of carved a path already. So my intention is to learn from them. So that has always been the case.
Right. Great. So Rahul, one more question related to this only. Like we are coaches, trainers. We are into a training industry, or maybe the people belongs from creative industry. We always talk about learning. Each day we have to learn. But the people generally, what I observe from like working professionals, software industry, they learn, okay, all the thing of their own industry, technical part they learn, but they never bother about practically about personal development. Okay, they think that why do we need that?
Okay.
We are doing good in our job, we are doing everything is good in our life. Why do we need mentor, or why do we need a community, or why do we spend or invest on personal development? So whoever is watching, most of the people are working professional as well. So I want you to tell them like why and how the personal development industry can help them to their growth and to their life, how the life can be better.
So I'll put it this way, and again, this is something that it took me many years to learn. Also, like I said, because I started to study more of how does marketing work, how does sales work, sales funnels, things like that. Those are the kind of things that I had not studied and learned. I had never really come across it till 2019. Right? Even though, like I said, I did my MBA in marketing, but in those days we were never taught a lot of these fundamentals, which today have become more commonplace, right? Like And also, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with access to technology, because today, you can create a sales funnel. Today, you have software that can, to a large extent, manage a sales funnel, for instance. So going back to your question, I would say, rather than trying to tell everybody why they need personal development, right? Why they need to work on themselves, I would rather focus on people who already feel somewhere that, hey, I lack self-confidence, I don't have as much self-esteem, and I need help. So for people who somewhere connect with this thinking, it becomes easier to give them an experience of how they can feel more confident, how they can feel, more in, let's say, how they can value themselves more. Right? Because otherwise what will happen is, and I'm sure you've had this experience, and I'm sure a lot of your audience has had this as well, which is when you're trying to tell somebody about personal development, trying to tell somebody about self-help, and they're not in that state of mind, is it easy to get across to them? My question is, if they're not ready, does it make sense to at that point talk to them?
No.
Right? And that's the answer.
Yeah.
Right? On the other hand, for people who realize that, okay, I somehow every year, every Jan, I set goals, and then in 25 days, I just give up. Right? And for the people who are starting to ask, like, is there a way out? Can I do this differently? And this is where, coming back to what I was talking about earlier, where I had paused you for a second when you said, I have to create content like 80% of the time. This is where, if we just continue to do what we are meant to do, which is, if I'm meant to create content, let me just create content. Because when these people are looking, we are already present for them.
Okay.
Right? When people are looking, if we've already created the content, and we ourselves are more comfortable, more fluent in creating content on an ongoing basis, and we are familiar with our own sales funnel, which is to say, for example, I'm going to create free content, I'm going to tell people how they can help themselves and how I have been able to help so many people. And if they connect with my energy, there is the next step. And if we get good at that, just these 3 steps, then we consciously and unconsciously are giving people the confidence to believe in us. Otherwise, it becomes hard sell. So the question, and it's a good question you ask, but it's a trick question. It's not about asking people, or it's not. Your question was, how do we tell people that it's important to become, better at personal development? I'm roughly paraphrasing.
Yeah.
That is not the question. The question is, how can I be so good at delivering my content about my area of personal development? So maybe somebody is a pranic healer, maybe somebody is a yoga teacher, maybe somebody is a hypnotist, whatever is their field. Right? But can I be so good at delivering it, which will take time, because it's a skill, which means if I practice it over and over again, I get better at it. How do I present it in a way on camera, on audio, like today we have podcasts, so that when somebody comes across it, I am speaking to them in a way that they connect with me. So, and I completely get where your question came from, because for many years even I had that gripe that, "Arey, log kyun nahi sunna chahte?" That's not the question. The question is, and that's why what you're doing is important, that can you help people brand themselves? Which means also, can you help people get good at creating their own content so that they're able to put the message out clearly? The better you get at that, and then tomorrow when somebody finds you and they really love your energy, they will become your fans. I've seen that happen, right? Like I'll tell you, I hadn't made videos till 2019.
Okay.
But because I started then, today I have more confidence. Say, for example, when we're having a conversation like this. But you know this, in COVID, a lot of people had never actually done like digital stuff. But COVID forced them, because it was that or lose your job.
Right.
Right? And so as a coach, as a therapist, as someone who wants to create their own personal brand, the sooner they become familiar with this, technology, and to be able to clearly put their message out there, over a period of time, people will find you. As crazy as that sounds.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So Rahul, you are a self-hypnosis coach. So it's a very new terminology and very fascinating one. So definitely we want to know, like, what is the self-hypnosis and how you help people?
Yeah. So great question. Let me break that down into 3 parts. Okay. And the pre-talk for this, or the pre-frame for this, is we are all amazing self-hypnotists. However, we are amazing self-hypnotists when it comes to limiting ourselves. I'll repeat that. We are amazing self-hypnotists when it comes to limiting ourselves. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm unlucky, right? I am not deserving, right? I am not capable of being loved. Nobody loves me. These are all these are all things we keep saying to ourselves. Right?
Right.
And these are things which is one example of hypnosis. Self-hypnosis, because we're saying it to ourselves. There's another example. For a lot of us, when we want to do something new, typically it's parents, friends, and family that will tell us what? Don't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. We don't do this in our family.
Nobody has done it.
Nobody else has done this before. Right? So this is an example of hypnosis, which means somebody is for example, in a position of power where they're able to convince us about something that nobody knows what the answer is. But they're able to tell us ki nahi kar. Right? So we just take these 2 frames. What I do is, when I work with people, one is I am able to help them change how they're speaking to themselves. Firstly, by listening, by making them hear what they just said. Like for me, I immediately picked up on it when you said, I have to do this. Right? So hypnosis is where I am creating certain frames so that you can see yourself as being beyond what people told you that you're not capable of doing. Ki tum itna hi kar sakte ho. So when I am doing hypnosis, I'm helping people see beyond that, beyond the limitation. That's the hypnosis part.
It's kind of breaking the beliefs.
Yes, breaking beliefs is one very important part. The second, of course, in that context is internal dialogue, which means when you talk to me and you're telling me what you're thinking, even in your language, I am able to pause you and ask you to hear what you just said. Because most often when we speak to ourselves inside, we don't hear what we're saying, right? Because it's inner dialogue. And our inner dialogue is so strong that we believe it. कि मैं तो ये कर ही नहीं सकती, लोग क्या कहेंगे? What if I fail? Right? I'll look like a buddhu in front of other people. People will laugh at me. है कि नहीं?
Right.
So the first part is where I am I am creating the frame. The second part, and that's the hypnosis. The second part is where I am teaching you tools and skills so that you are able to stop yourself. You are able to become aware of what you're saying by paying attention. So that frame is self-hypnosis. And I will obviously teach you tools so that you can practice it before you go on to a live, before you go on camera, before you go for a job interview, before you work with a client. And the tools after you work with a client, after the event, which means after the interview, after, fill in the blanks. Why? Because after that is where you kind of sometimes do not give yourself enough shabashi. Because you believe, oh, I failed, I'm a failure. No, you learn something so that the next time when you repeat that same thing, you'll be better at it. So it requires a certain understanding and certain skills and techniques so that you are able to stop yourself and look at what happened, learn from it, so the next time when it comes, you're ready. Otherwise, for most of us, notice what happens. When you fail the first time, for a lot of us, what do? We
don't try.
Exactly. We don't try. Or even if we're trying, we believe we're going to fail. And surprise.
We'll fail. Yeah.
Fail. Because we're already doing that. Any minute now, don't fail. Even saying to yourself, don't fail. What are you actually telling yourself? Like they say, the brain does not understand the do not. The brain only hearing fail. Like chetavni, you failed. And then you're going, see, I was right. Right? So these are the two frames. So there's the hypnosis, which I'm helping you by being the mirror, by being the soundboard. Self-hypnosis is where you learn tools so that you're able to slow things down and hear yourself and notice, look at it from different perspectives. Right? The third, and this is where it goes much deeper, which is hypnotherapy, which is, as the name suggests, it's a combination of hypnosis and therapy. So there's a lot of the healing that is required, which means also we are looking at, say, you get to reflect on past trauma from the last, could be from recent past, could be from way back, but you're able to look at it from a perspective where you're able to firstly do a lot of the healing, do a lot of the forgiveness, do a lot of the letting go, right? And when you do that, there's a lot of energy that you're releasing, which you can use now and in the future. So the way I look at it, there are these three components.
Wow, amazing. Great. So, Rahul, we come to an end. So, any message for our audience, any advice which you would like to give them?
So, like I said, what I mentioned somewhere towards the beginning of this live, right? And I'm saying this, of course, because it worked for me, and this has been a constant over these last many years. I know that we all have an inner voice, right? So one thing would definitely, there's one thing I'm saying, listen to your inner voice, one part. The second part is that be open to possibilities. What was that Anupam Kher show? क्योंकि लाइफ में कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Okay.
Right? Anything can happen. Right? And the third part, more importantly, the third part is to believe in yourself, to trust yourself, to back yourself. क्योंकि आप जितना you back yourself, that is what people will see from the outside. Like if you believe in yourself, people will sooner or later believe in you. I'm sure you heard this expression. Right. When you were struggling, people were telling you, don't do it, let it go, do something else, vagera, vagera. When you started to see success, when you started to become more successful, people said, Arey, I knew that person. I knew she was going to do it.
Yes.
But that's all of that is from you believing in yourself. The constant in all of that is to believe in yourself. Like, kuch bhi ho jaye. Deep down, I believe that it is going to work out. And of course, do the work for it, do the training, do lots of trial, meaning trial as in test a lot of things. Some things will fail, lots of things will fail. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I'll just use for a moment like a basketball example. If you look at some of the greatest basketballers, and I'm using obviously more of a US example, and you can correlate it even in cricket, but I just use the basketball example. If you look at the statistics of some of the greatest athletes, do you know what their actual loss versus success ratio is?
No idea.
49-51, meaning 49 losses, 51 wins.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the number of times that they're shooting, the number of times it doesn't go through, and the number of times that it goes through. And again, statistics. But they say that it's literally like 51-49. Over a period of time. At a certain time, maybe every game they're like doing, like even in cricket, at a certain point, cricketers are doing amazing. But when you look at the overall, because they stayed in the game, over a period of time, it's like literally that win versus loss, it's just that much of a difference. But that happens because they stayed in the game. So, the question to your listener is, or your viewer is, what's your intention?
So we have to stay in the process.
Exactly.
Great.
And again,
Thank you for sharing.
I won't say you have to stay in the process. If you choose to stay in the process,
if you want to do that.
I'm saying if you choose to stay in the process because you genuinely want to, right? If you don't want to and you're sort of in that deciding phase, that's fine. But if you choose to stay in the process, over a period of time, when you look at win versus loss, over a period of time, and of course you do all the work and all of that, eventually there's a very high possibility that you will see yourself as a winner.
Right. Absolutely right. And I totally agree with you. So thank you so much, Rahul. It was amazing show. So any feedback you like to give to me or any for my show, anything which you want to share?
I would say just keep doing what you're doing, and going back to the sports analogy, when you have finished your 100 shows, you yourself will see how this has a way of it'll look very similar. There'll be some which are absolutely amazing, there'll be some which are like mediocre, there'll be some which are like, why did I even do that? But when you look back and when you evaluate, a lot of this will make sense.
Right. So Rahul, we have one more thing in our show, and that is rapid fire, which I haven't told you. It is a surprise.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions and you need to answer within 5 seconds. If you're not able to answer within 5 seconds, I'll move to the next question.
Okay. Got it.
So are you ready for that?
Go for it.
Okay. So how do you start your day?
How do I start my day? That's a great question. It depends on which month we're talking about. It depends on whether I am in exercise zone, or I am in reflection zone, or I am in take it easy zone. So there's no one answer to that. There are times I may start my day at 4 in the morning. There are times I may start my day later. So there's no one answer. That's the answer.
Okay. So what would you like to change about yourself?
That's a great question. There would be lots of things. I think the one thing that I am changing in myself is becoming more consistent, if I can say that, right? And I know that is one of my big lessons in life, which I am right now, like on a constant basis, working on. So that would be the answer. Yeah, to be more consistent.
Great. What is your favorite food?
Favorite. Definitely cow sway would be one of them. The Burmese cow sway.
Okay. So what's the first thing you notice about someone you meet first time?
Their energy.
Okay. So how's mine?
How's your energy? Your energy is expectant, like you're full of positive, like you're like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen today. It's like I really want this to go well. So the word is, there's and like I said, that's the word that popped into my head. It's the expectancy. It's like you're very hopeful. So it's like a mix of emotions, but the word is like you're curious. I guess maybe that's how I would end that long list of emotions.
Okay. So if you could be an animal, what would it be?
At this point, I hear the word gazelle. So that's
Okay.
gazelle is like what would it be? Sort of like what does a gazelle look like? I'm also just checking it. It's basically a deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an antelope. It's got those very long horns. But it's like a deer.
Okay. So if you could say one thing to God, what would you say? What you would like to say?
Thank you.
Okay. I think this question I have asked you, but still again I'm going to ask you, why have you chosen to become a coach?
It chose me actually. Yeah,
do you believe in that? Like our dreams choose us, we don't choose our dream. The dream chooses us. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, to a very large extent. So I would put it this way, not even a dream. I would say it's like what you're meant to do chooses you. You may or may not discover it now. Right? Again, a lot of that depends on what's your path, how rigid are you that nahi mere ko yahi karna hai, mummy daddy ne yahi bola hai to main yahi karungi or whatever. Like it depends on where you are on your journey, but it will find you sooner or later.
Right. So thank you so much, Rahul. It was an amazing show. I enjoyed a lot and I learned so many things. Thank you so much.
So दोस्तों, ये था हमारा आज का एपिसोड। तो कैसा लगा हमें आज का एपिसोड कमेंट सेक्शन में नीचे ज़रूर बताइएगा, और आप किसे और देखना चाहेंगे हमारे इस एपिसोड्स में, हमारा ये टॉक शो में, और कैसे लग रहे हैं आपको हमारे एपिसोड, कौन सा आपके लिए बेस्ट एपिसोड था। और अगर आपका कोई रिकमेंडेशन हो, कोई सेलिब्रिटी, कोई कोच जिसे आप देखना चाहते हो, तो प्लीज़ आप मेंशन कर सकते हैं कमेंट बॉक्स में। एंड थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग एंड लिसनिंग अस। एंड अगर आप नए हैं हमारे चैनल पर, अभी तक आपने हमें सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है, सो प्लीज़ डू सब्सक्राइब अस। थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग, एंड मैं मिलूंगी आपको एक नए एपिसोड और एक नए गेस्ट के साथ।